There's a moment in football, a specific moment where the crowd goes quiet, not because nothing is happening, but because something too good is happening, where 50,000 people hold their breath at the same time, because the player on the ball is doing something they can't quite explain, and Pedri gives people that moment. Not once, not occasionally, but every single game. To understand what Pedri means to Barcelona, you first have to understand what Barcelona look like without him. And it isn't pretty. When Pedri is missing, something fundamental breaks down, not just in attack, not just in creativity, but in the basic rhythm of how the team breathes. Because Pedri is not a luxury player. He is not the kind of player you can simply replace with someone of similar quality and carry on. He is the connective tissue between the defense and the attack. The player who takes the ball from the center, backs under pressure, and turns defense into possession in a single touch, who decides when Barcelona slow the game down and when they accelerate it, who makes every player around him operate at a higher level simply by being on the pitch and being available. Without him, Barcelona become predictable. The ball moves slower, the spaces close quicker, the forwards receive the ball in worse positions, and the team that under Hansi Flick has been one of the most devastating attacking sides in Europe suddenly looks ordinary. And that is not a coincidence. That is the Pedri effect made visible through his absence, which is often how you truly measure a player's importance, not by what they do when they play, but by what disappears when they don't. His January 2026 injury proved it all over again. Barcelona missing him against Girona in La Liga, missing him against Athletic Madrid in the Copa del Rey, and anyone watching those games could feel the difference immediately. The midfield lacking its anchor, the attacks lacking their architect, and the entire team searching for a solution that only one person can provide. Part of what makes Pedri so fascinating and so difficult to replace is that he doesn't fit neatly into any one category, and the closest way to describe him is to stop trying to describe him as one player, and instead think of him as several of the greatest Barcelona midfielders ever to live, compressed into a single human being. He has Xavi's ability to control the tempo of a game, to slow everything down or speed it up depending on what the moment demands, that metronomic quality where the ball always seems to arrive at his feet at exactly the right speed and leave them at exactly the right moment. But he also has Iniesta's gift for the impossible, the ability to navigate tight spaces that should be unnavigable to ghost past a press in a corridor of two defenders and come out the other side with the ball still at his feet and a teammate already running in behind. And then there is the Busquets dimension, the defensive intelligence, the positioning, the interceptions that happen before anyone else has even registered the danger, the way he reads the game. 2 moves ahead, not just in attack, but in the moments before his team loses the ball. He is a blend of all of them, and what makes that extraordinary is that those 3 players, Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, collectively represent perhaps the greatest midfield generation in the history of football. 3 separate geniuses who each dominated the game in their own distinct way. And Pedri, at 23 years old, carries traces of all 3 in the way he plays, which is why Barcelona fans look at him and feel something that goes beyond admiration. They feel continuity. They feel like the identity of the club, the passing philosophy, the belief that football should be intelligent and beautiful and controlled never truly died. It simply waited for him. But the story is not clean, and it has never been clean because for every moment of brilliance there was a corresponding moment of devastation. Hamstrings, muscles, the knee, one setback bleeding into the next. Seasons where Barcelona would build their plans around him and watch those plans unravel in a physio room. And the question that followed Pedri like a shadow for 3 years was whether his body would ever allow his talent to fully express itself. The made of glass label arrived, the durability doubts arrived, and with them came the quiet but growing fear that the world might never get to see the complete version of Pedri, the one who plays 50 games a season, who is there for the Clásicos and the Champions League knockouts and the title run-ins, the version that exists in glimpses and highlights, but never quite in full. And for a player of his quality, that was the cruelest possible narrative to be trapped inside. But Hansi Flick changed that, not through anything dramatic, but through something simple and intelligent. He managed Pedri properly, built a program around his specific physical needs, gave him rest as a structure rather than a panic measure, and trusted that a fully available Pedri was worth more to Barcelona than a brilliantly overused one. And slowly, the body held, and the glimpses became consistency, and the consistency became dominance. What Pedri does in Flick's Barcelona is something that rarely gets the credit it deserves, because football as a sport tends to reward the visible, the goal, the assist, the dribble that ends up on a highlights reel. And what Pedri does is often invisible to the casual eye, but absolutely fundamental to everything Barcelona produce going forward. He is the one who receives the ball from the center backs when the opposition press is at its most intense, who doesn't panic, doesn't go long, doesn't give it back sideways out of fear. He receives it on the half turn, draws the press toward him, holds it for a half second longer than feels comfortable, and then finds the pass that breaks the line, that turns defense into attack in a single moment. And suddenly Yamal has space on the right, Rafinha is running in behind, and Lewandowski is receiving the ball facing goal instead of fighting for scraps with his back to it. And none of that happens without Pedri making the decision that created it, the pass that nobody else saw, the moment of calm that manufactured the chaos for the player ahead of him. It is the dirty work of football, the work that doesn't appear in the goal celebration, the work that the winger and the striker take the credit for, while the midfielder who made it all possible quietly jogs back into position and does it again. And this is what separates truly elite central midfielders from good ones, the willingness and the ability to be the engine behind the spectacle without needing to be the face of it. Toni Kroos, one of the greatest midfielders the game has ever produced, went on his podcast and delivered what can only be described as a verdict, saying that Pedri is more important to Barcelona than Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, and more important than goal scorer Robert Lewandowski, that in Champions League games he is better than every single opponent he faces, and that he is one of the very few midfielders alive who can dribble past players when there is genuinely no space. And Kroos knows exactly what he is talking about, because he spent his career trying to be exactly what Pedri is, and he recognized it immediately, adding that you only truly understand Pedri's value when he is gone, because that is when the absence becomes impossible to ignore. He doesn't seem quick, Kroos noted, and that is perhaps the most important observation of all, because the deception is the point. Pedri lures you into thinking you can get to him, into thinking the press will work this time, and then the ball is gone and you are spinning, and he is already somewhere else entirely, having already decided 3 seconds ago where the next move was going. Which brings us to right now, February 2026, and Barcelona holding their breath. The January injury came at the worst possible time, costing him the Girona game in La Liga, costing him the Copa del Rey clash with Athletic Madrid, and leaving Barcelona searching once again for the rhythm that only he can provide. But as of the 20th of February, Pedri is confirmed to be back. And the timing could not be more significant, because what looms ahead is the second leg of the Atletico Madrid Copa del Rey semi-final, a game Barcelona need to win to reach the final, and the kind of occasion that Pedri was built for. Here's the thing about players like him. They don't just perform in big games, they elevate big games. They make the players around them better precisely when the stakes are highest. And Barcelona know that with Pedri back in that midfield, the entire dynamic of the tie shifts, because Atletico Madrid will have to account for him. The reality of modern Barcelona is simple. They don't just play through Pedri, they breathe through him. When he's on the pitch, the game slows down for Barca and speeds up for the opponent. He is the tactical heartbeat that makes Hansi Flick's high-intensity machine function. But that creates a dangerous dependency. We've seen what happens when the heartbeat stops. Without his 90% passing accuracy and his ability to escape a three-man press, the transitions become heavy, and the creativity vanishes. Pedri isn't just a luxury, he is the structural foundation of this new era. We've come to the end of today's video. We've just seen how one man's vision is literally carrying a giant on its back. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and click the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.